What is up YouTube, and welcome to a brand new day. Today we are going to be looking at patch 7.22 notes, and this is the most recent patch that's come out, and this is the Runes Reforged patch. So obviously there's a whole bunch of changes coming to League of Legends. Obviously we're hitting preseason now, so that means there's a lot of things that are going to be like very experimental before it goes on to season 8, but stay tuned and we'll just go through all the stuff that we can in this video. So obviously we're going to be looking at a whole bunch of stuff. I think Runes Reforged is probably like the biggest aspect. There's obviously other changes that are come to champions, items, experience, jungle monsters, and then like the whole bunch of stuff. So we'll probably go through each one of them and I'll see how much time I can spend on each of them. I'll definitely try to keep the segment short, but no promises. But anyway, let's get straight into it. So Runes Reforged, so there's a whole bunch of stuff kind of came in, so we're probably going to be looking at each particular tree and we're going to go from there. So first up is the Resolve tree. Basically it says live forever. Resolve is about durability and crowd control. So off the bat I can kind of see it's for tanky personnel only, generally for tanks who will soak up a lot of damage but also have a lot of durability as well, and obviously crowd control and will help them out a whole heap, right? Okay, so anyway, starting things off with path bonus. So basically if you go into the Resolve tree, you get an extra 130 health, and I think this is just like a base stat that's added onto your health at the start of the game, and then you've got the ability to kind of choose your keystones. So keystones are Grasp of the Undying, previously in this in the old monster system. So basically every 4 seconds in combat, your next basic attack on a champion will deal bonus magic damage equal to 4% off your max health, heal you for 2% off your max health, and permanently increase your health by 5. Okay, so the permanently increase your health by 5 is something that I had not noticed. I don't think the other one had it, but evidently you're going to be doing 4% of your maximum health as damage. So tanks are going to be doing 4% of your maximum health. Now to give you an indication of what that damage would be, so say for example, 4% is equal to 4 damage for every 100 damage for 100 health that you have. In this case, most tanks will have close to like 3,000 health. So at 1,000 health you'll be doing 40 damage. At 3,000 health you'll be doing 1,200 damage every 4 seconds. Now that's not that huge, but it's still pretty significant. And at the same time, I think every time you proc this you'll be getting 5 health. So arguably, say for example, you can proc it I think 15 times in a minute, roughly, and if you times that by 5, you can get roughly 75 health every minute throughout that game. And I think if you do it for, say for example, 10 minutes straight, you'll probably be able to kind of get I'd say roughly 750 health. So that's actually pretty big if you can kind of pull it off for most of the laning phase. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So range champion damage and healing are halved and they gain 2 permanent health. So obviously range champions don't get that much. So if you're like a Gnar in top lane, I don't know if Gnar counts as a ranged or a melee because it does have 2 different forms, but like they wouldn't be able to abuse this very heavily, so which is a good thing as well. So next up we have Aftershock. So Call Me Quake. After immobilizing an enemy champion, increase your armor and magic resistance by 20 plus 30% for 2.5 seconds. Then explode, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies. Damage will go from 40 to, so base 40 to maximum 140 plus 3.5 of your maximum health. Cooldown is 20 seconds. So Aftershock seems like it seems as though it'll kind of be sort of similar to Thunderlords and how it works. Obviously a tank item tank keystone for sure. It just means that if you have CC, you'll be able to kind of like burst them a lot quicker. Obviously if you initiate, you definitely get a lot of resistance, both magic and armor. And yeah, so it generally seems like something that you would use for an engaged tank more than anything, right? And then we have Guardian, definitely not Braum. So Guardian allies within 175 units of you and allies you target with spells for 2.5 seconds, while guarding, if you are the ally, take damage both. If you or the ally take damage, both of you gain a shield and active haste for 1.5 seconds. So essentially you guys get a shield and you get movement speed. Cooldown is 45 seconds, so a lot longer cooldown than Aftershock for sure. Shields are 60 to 150 plus 0.20 AP plus 10% bonus health. So this is for AP tanks for sure. And haste will be plus 20% movement speed. Now I don't know how much 20% movement speed will be. 20% movement speed. I don't know if it works off your base movement speed or your total movement speed, because say for example, I think if you get boots or something, you're at 350. Boots 1, and boots 2, you would be roughly at 400. Say if we're working off of 400, you inherently could be getting another 100 movement speed off this, so you'd be going really fast, to be honest, because for every 100 movement speed you'll be gaining 20, and at 400 you'd probably be sitting at 80, so you'd be at 480 movement speed, so significantly faster. It will be sort of similar to having movie boots for 2.5 seconds, right? 1.5 second, that is. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Anyway, so those were the kind of like the keystones. Next we're going to look at strength. So unflinching, definitely after casting a summoner spell, gain 15% tenacity and slow resistance for 10 seconds. Additionally, gain 10% tenacity and slow resistance for each summoner spell on cooldown. Okay, so this one's a unique one. It's basically, I guess at the same time you can kind of say it's in cohesion with a attack that will be initiating. So if you're using flash to engage or something like that, or like ghost, or I can't really think of any other abilities that will let you engage, maybe even TP for that matter. So after you come in from a TP play, you get that extra tenacity and slow resistance to kind of like let you kind of get those flanks off for sure. Demolish, Falcon Punch, charge up a powerful attack against a tower over 4 seconds while within 600 range of it. The charge attack deals 125 plus 30% of your max health bonus physical damage. So this one is actually pretty interesting. It literally means that now tanks can split push pressure. Now I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this particular patch, if you guys have gone through this and have looked through the entire patch notes, I believe what they're shifting towards is a much more Dota orientated gameplay, where if you're ahead, you are ahead, if you're behind, you are behind, essentially meaning that if you're ahead, it'll be very hard for the other enemy team to kind of come back, and if you're behind, it'll be very hard for you to kind of like catch up unless the enemy team significantly screws up. So this kind of means that if you're ahead, you'll just be putting so much pressure as a split pushing top laner for sure. And you can kind of run this on support if you wanted as well. That will kind of just allow bot lane to put more pressure as well. And even junglers if you wanted, to be honest. And 30% of your max health, bonus physical damage, as bonus physical damage, right? 30% of your max health, say for example, so if we're going off total health, if you have 3,000 health and you're doing 30% of that, you'll roughly be doing close to 900 damage every 45 seconds. And 900 damage, if my math is correct, yep, so 30% of 100 is, yeah, so 1,000 will be 300 and then 900. Yeah, so you're actually doing a significantly amount of damage very later on in the game. And turrets, I believe they only have like 4k health, and therefore you're going to be melting through these very quickly. And then next we have is Font of Life. Impairing the movement of enemy champion marks them for 4 seconds. Allied champions attack mark enemies heal for 5 plus 1% of your max health over 2 seconds. So this is something you could probably use on a support, on even like your tank top laner. So obviously carries alive, right? So you don't necessarily have to do anything, you just have to kind of build tank, and you kind of do it for them, right? So the more tanky you are, the better the chances for your carries to survive. So now it literally means that if you are behind, all you need to do is kind of like stack HP, and you will be able to help out your team if you have font of life. There we go. And this kind of like, I think this resets after every 4 seconds. I don't know how often this procs, and they can kind of do like they heal over it for 2 seconds. So in essence, in essence, I would say like probably get 3 odds off 1% plus 5. I would say actually it's not that huge, so it'll be 10 for every 1,000 health that you have, and then roughly 3,000 health will be working out 10, 20, 30 plus 5, so they'll be healing roughly in the time frame that we're kind of listed, which will be 2 seconds that they heal. An AD carrier will probably be able to get 3 auto attacks in, so therefore it means they would probably roughly be able to heal 35 times 3 will be 5, 3, 15, 9, 10, so roughly around 115, or just like 105. I think I'm doing maths wrong here. Yeah, it'll be 105, sorry. So essentially, yeah, so that's actually really cool. Resistance, I think next up is Iron Skin. So gain plus 5 armor, heal effect, consumables, heals for 20 plus health and shield. Increase your armor by 5% for 3 seconds. I don't think I actually don't see much use of this unless you've got like supports that I don't know if it means that you heal a person or heals onto you is what it means. Arguably this isn't very useful, and it's probably just there for the sake of being there, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know if it applies to you, applies to the other person. I'm actually not 100% too sure on this. Mirror Shell, it's free. Gain plus 5 magic resistance. So you basically, okay. So you can kind of go, you can either choose Iron Skin or Mirror Shell, depending on what sort of team you're versing, to gain that like the extra resistant, either in laning phase or just overall. And then conditioning is after 10 minutes gain plus 8 armor and plus 8 magic resistance. Increase your armor and magic resistance by 5%. In my opinion, if you're gonna really struggle in the early game, then you would either go Iron Skin and Mirror Shell, depending on the type of opponent you're gonna verse. And then conditioning, if you know for a fact you can get out of the laning phase, fine, because conditioning works out a little bit better. But I think the Iron Skin and Mirror Shell kind of work as like the early game little boost to help you survive laning phase. Alright, cool. Oops. Anyway, next up is Vitality, and this is probably the last thing I would do just before I sign off of this video. So anyway, Overgrowth is permanently gain 0.2% maximum health for every 8 monsters or enemy minions that die near you. I think this is an interesting one nonetheless. So 0.2 maximum health is roughly 0.2 for every 100 health you have. So it'll be for every 1,000 health you have, you would get 1. For every 3,000 health, sorry, you'd get 2, and for every 3,000 health you have, you would get 6. So if this continues throughout the entire game, say for example after you get your 3rd item, which will roughly be around about 25 minutes, I think after the 25-minute mark it may become useful, because as the game progresses, obviously like 8 minions is actually like a wave and 2, so I'm actually not 100% too sure on how this one works. Minions, you'd probably be getting like yeah, I actually don't think it'll be that useful. So minion waves are every like 15 to 20 seconds, I believe, and yeah, I don't think this one's going to be very useful, because at most you'll be getting like 6 health at like 30-minute mark. You'll be getting like 6 health every 20 seconds. I don't see that being super beneficial unless there's like a massive minion wave that you can kind of reap off of, you know. Obviously really good for support to kind of get this natural stat, but not for like a top lane tank or anything like that. Revitalize energy drink. Heals and shields you cast on you are 5% stronger and increased additional 10% when below 40%. So obviously this is casting on yourself, right? Or cast on you. So this is something like an AD carry can take, but obviously if you have shield people, like if you have champions in the game that can shield you and you're a tank engaging or kind of like fighting the front line, you can probably go Revitalize. And lastly, second win, after taking damage from an enemy champion, heal for 4% of your missing health plus 6 over 10%. Now this one is probably the best out of all the rest in my opinion, because after taking damage from an enemy, heal for 4% of your missing health. Alright, so 4% of your missing health, it can correlate to roughly 40 per 1,000 health. So it's 4 per 100 health and 40 per 1,000 health, and then you times that by 3, it will be 120 plus 6, so it will be 126 over 10 seconds, which isn't massive, but it probably is still better than what you would get from Overgrowth or Revitalize in my opinion. Revitalize will probably work better if you have whatchamacallit. Actually no, I think it still would be better than Revitalize. Second wind is probably like the best option out of all the ones that you see there. So anyway guys, I'm gonna end the video here because that actually took a lot longer than what I expected it to. So the resolve tree is pretty big. What I'll do is I'll start my next video off at the next tree, which is the domination one, and I'll obviously try and explain things a little bit better because I think I might have missed like what sort of champions would work well with certain abilities and so forth. So I'll try and keep that in mind when I explain them. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.